Okay, everyone, to an episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff to have a really cool review for you guys from their brand, Vaer. A little about them. They were founded back in 2016 out of Venice in California, which is in Los Angeles County in the good old US of A. And they pretty much started Vaer because they couldn't afford the watches they liked and didn't like any of the watches that they could afford. So they used their life savings to bring their vision of the perfect everyday watch to life. And they're proudly offering American assembly and testing options, which is great. And in terms of the type of watch, of course, this is a chronograph, some key characteristics and design language. When you're looking for a chrono, of course, you're going to have external pushers to activate timing functions, multiple subdials to measure elapsed time, often featuring additional scales dependent on that subgenre. This is their newer R1 USA Oceanracer Chronograph in the Panda 38. It's actually a reverse Panda layout, but it is categorized as a Panda. And it's utilizing the same case proportions as their popular D4 and D5 dive watches. The R1 Oceanracer serves as a unique blend of these function-first timekeepers while adding the unmistakable flair, color, and stopwatch functionality of a racing-inspired chronograph. You guys can get these for $399 with 2 straps, or you can get it for $469 with a Tropic style strap plus the stainless steel bracelet. And I have 3 different options that I'm going to be able to showcase for you guys. But this one's cool. It's only 38 millimeters, and it's only about 13.5 millimeters thick, which I think is pretty awesome. Really compact lug to lug at just over 45 millimeters. And yeah, it's a pretty handsome look. I like the layout. Of course, you guys can probably tell it is a Meca-Quartz, so it's using that Seiko Instruments VK64 movement. So of course you're going to have that 1/5 second interval in terms of that timing sweep. Multi-headed lever disengages and snaps back to instant 0 versus sweeping back to 0 electronically. So the chrono mechanism consists of over 20 individual parts, similar to a traditional mechanical chronograph gear train, which is pretty outstanding. And again, guys, this is not super expensive at $399 or up to $469, depending on how much you want to kind of up spec this one. And the cool thing is, again, you're getting USA production. So I think that's awesome. So with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. All right, guys, so quite a few different options, but I think it is most at home on this really nice rubber Tropic strap. And guys, if you're fans of the channel, you know I've gone through all of the pretty much the rubber Tropic straps that are out there, and I'm a big fan of some of the more expensive ones. So it is really cool to find one on here supplied for free, with, of course, with the watch. That is actually super nice. Look how pliable that is. Look at it has not just a taper, of course, tapering down, but it even tapers in thickness. So you're going to have that nice supportive area up top to really keep the watch planted on your wrist, while it's nice and thin where it comes and needs to fold in and under, where you're going to have multiple layers. So very, very nice. I just want to throw that out there, guys. And of course, let's do this. Boom. Get that going. Ooh, yes. Yes. Okay, so it is a 12-hour timing bezel, which does add a lot of versatility, but it is still your traditional 120-click unidirectional rotating mechanism there. So, hey, it would have been better if it was bidirectional, sure, but honestly, I would prefer these clicks over if they would have just done, let's say, what a lot of brands do, which is just make it friction fit bidirectional. I much prefer these clicks just for the sake of being able to kind of lock everything in and not have to worry about it sliding around. So I do like that very much. And boom, boom, look at that, just that snap back. Very, very nice. Okay. So, like I mentioned, guys, nice footprint, 38 millimeter diameter, only 13.5 thick. And some of you are like, hey, that's pretty thick. Well, if this was mechanical, that would be tremendously thin. So yeah, let's be happy with a 13.5. 45.5 lug to lug. So this is a really great footprint. Actually very similar to some of the JDM Speedmaster kind of reduces that are in the 39mm range. This reminds me very much of those watches. Of course, it's not a direct homage to them, but with this case, I mean, it's hard to not draw a similar comparison. But of course, it does have its own lines here, as you guys can see. This undercut, kind of more cushion style. And then, of course, this little sweep down here at angle, and very smooth. And, you know, again, these watches I've reviewed over the years, Vaer, and they just, every time a new watch comes out, they're just so much better than the previous model and previous iterations. So they definitely are stepping their game up, and, you know, all the money from all the watches that they sold over the years is definitely going back into their products, which I can appreciate. So I really do dig this here on this strap, but it does come with some other strap options, so I do want to get into those. But first, let's go ahead and just look at this dial here. Nice matte stepped reverse panda dial with applied indices, no date to worry about, which is nice. Satin brushed hands, and then you're going to get that Super Luminova BGW9, 15 layers of grade A BGW9, which is wonderful. Also 10 atmospheres or 100 meters of water resistance. Fantastic 20mm lug width, guys. So this is going to be very versatile. Now, speaking of versatile, let's go ahead and let's put that to the test. So you got these quick release, which is awesome. So if I do want to throw this on here, it's not hard, guys. So some of you probably were like, oh, I wish it had drilled lugs. Well, you kind of don't really need drilled lugs when you have quick release spring bars. Check that out. So very handsome. I'm digging that. So very cool. And you guys can see you're going to get that nice look, of course, that people do enjoy about a you know, a nylon NATO style, but you're getting it in a two-piece layout, so you're not adding any thickness underneath. And yeah, this thing looks sweet. Check that out. That wears really fantastically. And then, of course, if you do get my wrist a bit lower, you can see that this is a nice compact watch. Even if I have a bit of that perspective distortion by getting my wrist too close to the lens, you're gonna, even when it like makes the watch look bigger, it's still not oversized. So very, very cool. But let's actually get it on the bracelet very quickly, because we all love a good bracelet. I'm a bracelet guy myself here. And let's quickly, before we even put that on, let's take a look at this bracelet. Very nice quality. This is, I believe, their premium V2, so version number 2. It has screw in links there, nicely articulated, not fully articulated, so these 3 links there and that 3 link are kind of stuck together there versus being individually articulated. And then you are going to have a male end link, which isn't the greatest, but it's also not a deal breaker by any means. Of course, this area here is going to be a little sharp, because that's going to be butting up against you know, the watch head and not your finger or anything like that. So this actually fits really, really well. Of course, I jinxed myself. Now it's going to be harder to get this side in, because the first one went in so nicely. Of course, this is all user error, guys. This is can't blame Vaer for me jinxing myself. So boom. Oh, almost in there. Oh, no, it's in there. Sweet. So let me give it a quick little dust off. Check that out. Very clean, very timeless. Speaking of, and then timeless, yeah, the design as well. Although this is going to be just semi-milled, so fully milled here on the folding section, and then pressed here, and then pressed there for that friction fit clasp. But the nice thing is it has a very nice profile, so very thin and flows, so it's not going to overwhelm, especially considering that this is not a mechanical watch, so it's not going to be as heavy as a traditional chronograph. So when we do get this on wrist, though, check that out. Bam! We'll move these out of the way. Look at that. We'll even tighten up the frame here so you guys can get a bit of a truer aspect ratio of how this may lay on your owner. So you can see this thing is very compact. The nice thing is, because it has the black on black, right? Black dial, black bezel, a lot of times that's going to give you more visual punch. But because of that nice contrasting outer chapter ring there, it helps you not overwhelm, but it still gives you a nice amount of visual punch. So this doesn't seem undersized. You guys can see this thing just flows really nice. Check out that big, thick bevel, highly polished, very nice, clean brushing, very clean finishing around all of the grip knurling and everything around here. So very cool. I'm digging this a lot. So I don't know, should I leave it on the bracelet? Should I get it back on the Tropic strap? I don't know. But all I do know is it's time for some low light transition and closing thoughts. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and hit the lights here. Bam, check out that Lume. One thing also I want to make sure I mention is big shout out to Vaer for sending this piece in. Of course, they've sent in multiple watches to the channel over the years, and they're always super confident in their products. So that's awesome that they kind of know that they're gonna get some pretty straight feedback. So if there is if there are ever any issues with things, they fix them, and you guys can see they've been slowly improving. Even just the screw quality on their bracelets, and that's because hey, they previously wasn't cutting the mustard enough, right? So I think that's awesome, guys. One thing I do like to work in there, though, is of course going to be that low light transition, because you're not always going to be out in the middle of a field enjoying direct sunlight. A lot of times you can find yourself coming in out of buildings, walking underneath overhangs, or just hanging out underneath the shade of a tree. So it is nice to see what these colors, textures, and finishes render like in less than optimal lighting. Maybe include a bit of harsh lighting, which typically could, expose any types of production defects. But guys, check that out. Look how clean that is. Even with the power of 4K to find little things that the naked eye wouldn't find, I gotta say, this is rendering very, very well executed. Now, no, it is not going to be luxury level of execution or anything like that, but man, it's still doing really, really well. Wow. Look at the little textures, the little concentric circles on the subdials. I know some of you are upset about that 24-hour subdial. The nice thing is, you know where you're at in terms of AM or PM. So I think that's useful. And I like that they made sure that the colorway and the paint scheme, the color blocking makes sense for that, right? They didn't make it look like it was trying to do timing functions. It is straight up there. You can see little AM, PM indicator in terms of 6 AM to 6 PM. So I dig that. And you can see noon across from, of course, midnight. And yeah, the Lume on here is really nice. Even in that mixed light there, you guys can see stands out really nice. And if we get it all out of the way, you can probably notice that there's a bit of a two-tone finish there. You're going to have some little green and a lot of blue. So I dig that, guys. So, one thing to note is that the bracelet is a $70 upgrade. So if you didn't do the math earlier, that's easy enough. And yeah, you're getting that nice little thoughtful things like quick release spring bars on pretty much all of the options, which makes it very nice. Nice taper, guys, all the way around. And yeah, it's a simple layout and a very handsome look here. So closing thoughts, guys, on the wrist, Neo Vintage JDM 39mm Speedmaster vibes. Yes, it's giving those vibes. And those watches are going for $2,000-3,000 these days. So pretty nice to be able to have something that's within a similar space for a whole lot less, right? Under $400 if you just want to go with the double strap option. Yeah, and then it's also improved certain, things like it has 20mm lugs versus 18mm lugs on those, older Speedmasters. So yeah, I think that's also cool, and it's not a direct homage. Some of you might not even draw that correlation, if not for me mentioning it, and I'm fine with that too. Now, in terms of model variants, definitely check the site for availability and options. I do believe they do have some other colorways. I'll leave a link down in the description. In terms of comparable models, guys, in the sea of vintage motorsports inspired Meca-Quartz competition, the R1 Oceanracer rises above competitors, combining handsome design with a higher grade of execution than you typically expect for a quartz wristwatch under $500. Yeah, I mean, they're doing it nice. Like, it doesn't have to be this good, especially at this price point. And yeah, I'm impressed. Wait till you feel this coin edge bezel. And I mean, that's one of the things that I guess maybe is almost a bit of a shame, is that since it's not a mechanical movement, you can't wind the watch. And I think the knurling on there is so good, you kind of want to. Let me. Is that a little dusty dust there? Maybe. All right. So yeah, I would say bottom line, guys, Vaer have been stepping up their game, like I mentioned, and the R1 Oceanracer Chrono is another example of how seriously they're taking each new release and clearly making an effort to really over-deliver for their customers. So I think that's awesome that they're pushing so hard, because honestly, I feel like their marketing is so good and their design is so good that they don't need to be this good. Like, they would probably get by just on, you know, nice designs and great spec sheets and price points. But the fact that they're still pushing themselves and still, performing at a very high level, after all of these years, since 2016, that's decently long, especially when you consider probably how many units they've moved for a micro brand. I gotta say, these guys are popular for a reason. They make good stuff. So with that said, let me know what you all think down in the comments below. If you like the video, please do a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.